Hello, Alan Rule here, and I am going to talk. The title of this section is The Heretical Jesuit Mind. Now, let me talk about the Jesuits. The modern day Jesuits are an absolute cancer on the church. This can't be denied. In fact, I'm trying to get this meme going where we need to call the modern Jesuits. They're no longer the Society of Jesus. They're the Society of Judas. That way they don't even need to change their name, SJ. So they can call themselves the Society of Judas. And they don't even have to change their insignia, SJ. I'm always thinking of the other guy, right? So you have the modern Jesuits who are completely lost. They're done. It's not like there's a few bad apples. There's a few bad apples in every order. I'd say that about the Fraternity of St. Peter. There's a few bad apples. But in terms of the Jesuits, it's not even a few good apples. It's they're completely compromised. I know a lot of people tell me, "Oh, what about Father Mitch Pacwa?" Well, Father Mitch Pacwa is not that conservative. He's a lot better than guys like James Martin, but he's still a liberal. So yeah, they're done essentially. They're done. The Jesuits are finished. They did glorious work back in the day, but today, sadly, it's completely gone. Now I'm going to hold on. Just let me retweet this on Twitter. All right. Now, okay, so you have the Jesuits. Now, right now, they are the center of everything controlling that. In fact, I believe, and so does E. Michael Jones, that a Jesuit priest had said back in April that you need to put these restrictions on the Latin Mass. We're seeing Pope Francis do. And we're going to talk about that priest in a second. But let me tell you, these people are behind the revolution of the church in the modern day church, and they need to be suppressed. Like, for example, you got the Dominicans. There's bad Dominicans. There's bad Franciscans. Those orders can be saved. You just need to do some weeding. You can't save the Jesuits. They're done. And I'm going to say what needs to happen to them at the very end of this live stream. Okay, so you got a guy like James Martin, right? Obviously a heretic, huge promoter of sodomy, but he hasn't actually spoken heresy. He hasn't actually spoken. In fact, James Martin, if you take a look at the guy, he's like a very nice guy. He's always he's even kind to his opponents. He's not nasty to his opponents. Now, we all know what he's all about. He's all about the church promoting sodomy. And the Pope Francis even slammed the door on that. No, you can't bless these unions. He's not really enforcing it, but he's made a statement to all these people that you can't do that. So James Martin, although he's popular and you need to know what he says, he's not the guy to be following. I'm going to tell you the Jesuit to follow. He's on Twitter. Hold on. I'm going to see how many followers he has on Twitter. There's this son of the devil who's working against our Lord Jesus Christ. All right. The priest you need to follow, or at least read his articles, you don't need to necessarily follow his tweets, is a guy named Father Thomas Reese, and that is spelled Reese. And his Twitter handle is at Thomas, spelled the usual way, Reese SJ. That's a guy you need to follow. And this guy, we're going to be talking about that, William, but you're on the right track. So this guy, Father Thomas Reese, is the main hold on, I'm going to show you what he said back in. I'm going to show you what he said back in. Okay. Perfect. Hold on. Okay, I'm going to show you what he said back in April, back in the old Summorum days. He gives his opinions on what the liturgical reform will be. Then there's pre-Vatican II Mass. Now, he says, after the Pauline reforms of the liturgy, it was presumed that the quote-unquote Tridentan or Latin Mass would fade away. Bishops were given the authority to suppress it in their dioceses, but some people clung to the old liturgy to the point of schism. Benedict took away the bishop's authority and mandated that any priest could celebrate the Tridentan Mass whenever he pleased. It is time to return to bishops the authority over the Tridentine liturgy in their dioceses. The church needs to be clear that it wants the unreformed liturgy to disappear and will only allow it out of pastoral kindness to older people who do not understand the need for change. Children and young people should not be allowed to attend such masses. Well, man, what a charming guy. Clericalist thing I've ever heard. You know, the children can't attend it. Those poor those poor bad people. It's like those poor old people who don't know any better. They can attend the odd Latin Mass, but those young people, not allowed. Not allowed. You get the Novus Ordo. That's what it is. So what happened here is, and then eventually, this is exactly what happened with Francis. So the pre-Vatican II. So he's just speaking his mind. He's not trying to be. He's just saying how they think. And this guy, he's a boomer. He's about, if I had to guess, around 60, 65. And he is just speaking his mind. So this guy's the guy you want to follow. He's not as popular. He's got about 29K subscribers on YouTube. But this is the guy to follow to know what's going on. By the way, if things are going good or bad. Now I'm going to show you another article that this son of the devil has written. What the heck? Okay, let me just. I'm not used to sharing these. All right, Chrome. Okay, he has an article called "The Beginning of the End of the Francis Papacy," and he basically says, "Here, I'm going to make this the whole screen." All right, the beginning of the end of the Francis Papacy. See this guy? That's his picture over there. Although he appears to be recovering from his surgery, the hospitalization Pope Francis marks the beginning of the end of his papacy. Time is running out. Francis is 84 years of age, and it will be miraculous if he's able to continue as Pope for 5 years. So, Francis, yeah. So this was a couple days before Francis dropped the atomic bomb with Summorum that cancels Summorum Pontificum. See, it's the 13th of July. Now, see, 13th of July. And then he says, I'm going to read this article because it's very honest. It's very honest what he thinks. Pope Francis seems to be recovering nicely after his July 4th surgery, when the 84-year-old pontiff underwent a 3-hour procedure for diverticular stenosis. A Vatican spokesman says he will remain, quote, a few more days in order to optimize his medical and rehabilitation therapy, quote. But even with the best prognosis, age is catching up to Francis. Barring a miracle, he will only be expected to continue as Pope for 5 or 6 years. We may look back at his hospitalization as the moment that marked the beginning of the end of his papacy. If that's the case, we will also be able to count incredible achievements. Okay, so he's basically saying Francis's papacy has more days behind it than it does ahead of it. And so Francis is he's getting older. He's sick. He just had surgery. He's not good. In fact, I think he was waiting for Pope Benedict to die before he uh, uh, some more pontificum, but he realized Pope Benedict's just not dying, and he's getting older and sicker. And Pope Benedict, I think, is in better shape than Francis, although he is older. Well, despite the fact that he's older. Are you seriously saying no good Jesuits are left? I don't know. There might be some good Jesuits left, but the point is, the order is beyond redeemable. It's completely compromised. They need to be suppressed because everyone that I follow is apostatizing from the faith. Take a look at their Secretary General. He's just a... Okay, hold on. I'm going to go. I think the last one, Adolfo Nicholas, he didn't even believe in hell. All right. As a pastor, Francis has caught the imagination of the world with his compassion and openness to all people. He has put, except traditionalists, he has put love, especially for the poor, center stage of his preaching the gospel. By the way, I'm not against that. As a world leader, he has put his papacy squarely on the side of migrants and refugees. I hate the word migrant. I hate it. It has no legal definition under international law. It's basically anyone who shows up at your border from poor countries that have no papers. They got no papers. They show at your country from, and they're expected to get free citizenship. And he has a prophetic voice against global warming, of course, and the excesses of capitalism. I don't care about that stuff. So I don't care what the Pope says. And within the church, he has encouraged dialogue and a more consultative style of government. Well, no, he believes in dialogue with stuff that he doesn't care about. Like, for example, the female deacons. He doesn't care about that. So he's like, oh, we can debate that at the Amazon Synod. For things he does not care about, he allows it to be openly debated. For things that he cares about, he'll just firmly put it in. Take a look at the death penalty. The death penalty was largely believed. John Paul II threw some cold water on it. Pope Francis takes it even further. That should have been something debated. Where was the dialogue on the death penalty? Anyway, put bluntly, the Congregation Doctrine of Faith no longer acts as like the Inquisition it once was. That might be a good thing. In short, Francis has rebranded the papacy for the 20th century with the pastoral inclusive voice. By the way, you noticed something here. Okay, that's a good point, Hallie. Father Mitch Pat, I talked about him earlier. He's okay. He's not great by any stretch of the matter. Is he better than James Martin? Of course, but he's not that great, really. He's okay. But still, that's not enough to save the order. No, I don't like Father Spitzer. But now he's not as bad as Thomas Rees, James Martin, Jeremy Zippel, all these apostates. All right, let's. All right, clerical. All right, where he has been less successful is in winning over the clerical establishment to his vision for the church. In his 8 years as Pope, France hardly dented the clerical establishment that he inherited. Probably true. Many bishops and priests in the Roman Curia and around the world think his election was a mistake, and laity, that would be me. And they're hoping to return to what they regard as normalcy in the next papacy. They feel he has not emphasized dogma and rules enough, so they are not cooperating. Like something like Vigano isn't cooperating, but like, what about? Yet Francis has treated his opponents with the gentleness of a pastor who hopes for their conversion. Yeah, that's true. He's been awfully kind to his enemies. And it says any other CEO would simply replace those who are not on board with his agenda, but Francis refuses to fire people. You can tell what this guy wants. That's why you need to follow this guy. He just speaks his mind. He's like, no, all those conservative bishops need to be fired. As a result, he has waited until curial officials and bishops reach retirement age. By the way, that's what's always been done. For such a strategy to have an effect requires a very long papacy, such as the 27-year reign of John Paul II, followed by 8 years of Pope Benedict. During the 35-year period, John Paul II and Benedict remade the episcopacy in their image. Yeah, it wasn't a great image, with all the scandals. The litmus test is loyalty and as they defined it. And anyone who questioned the papacy's position on birth control, married priest, or woman priest was disqualified. Well, Pope Francis is only one notch above that. He allows them to say, but he's actually come down in favor of that. These bishops then revamp the seminaries that have produced the clergy we have today. He means the younger clergy. And he's going to talk that the younger clergy are not Francis supporters. He's going to talk about that. All right. One of the best examples is the United States, where neither the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops nor the seminaries are bastions of Francis supporters. Yeah, exactly. Because Pope Francis, I don't believe, has inspired any converts. There are a lot of people who John Paul II and Pope Benedict inspired to come into the church. Bishops who embody Francis's values make up 20 to 40 of the 223 active U.S. bishops, and among the clergy, Francis receives his greatest support from older priests, exactly, who are dying off rather than the younger ones who are the future of the church. Yeah, that's true. No one is, or very few people are entering the seminary with Pope Francis values. They're not exactly the future. They were at one point. To heart the atrium of personnel is policy. He left in place Benedict appointee Cardinal Mark Ouellet as a prefect of the Congregation of Bishops, the office that vets candidates for the episcopacy. By the way, Mark Ouellet is very close with Francis. When Archbishop Vigano wrote his second letter, he came out in huge defense of Francis and, without knowing it, basically admitted everything that Vigano said. The nuncios who suggest papal episcopal candidates were also trained and advanced under John Paul and Benedict, and for the first 3 years of Francis's papacy, Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano, an archenemy, served in that role in the United States. Well, Francis didn't know Vigano was going to lash out at that point. As a result, even the American bishops appointed under Francis are a mixed bag. Finding young candidates for the... Okay, this is telling, this next paragraph. Again, this guy just speaks the mind. If things are going good, he'll say it. If they're going bad, he'll say it. That's why I like this guy. He's honest, if anything else. Okay. Finding young candidates for the priesthood, meanwhile, who support Francis and want to be celibate, is like looking for Catholic unicorns. And if you were to find some, they aren't likely to be welcomed by conservative seminaries. As a result, the laity who are encouraged to come to church because they like Francis are unlikely to find him in their parishes or dioceses. I don't know people that are coming to church who are dropping their lap status because of Francis. I don't know anyone. If anything, he's scaring people away. Reforming the Catholic Church takes decades, not years. If his papacy is reckoned a failure, it would be because Francis failed to replace or outlast the clerical establishment put in place by John Paul and Benedict. His papacy will only succeed if he is followed by popes who are in sync with his approach to Catholicism, and this is not guaranteed. He has appointed sympathetic men to the College of Cardinals, but conclaves are unpredictable, as his own election showed. By the way, no, that's true. Like when people say, all right, when people say that, oh, I'm so scared that Francis has appointed the majority of cardinals, but and they're pointing to the College of Cardinals and the Pope Benedict and JP2 cardinals are dying off or getting too old, and it's mostly Francis cardinals now. Why are you worried about? Why do you have faith in the John Paul II or Pope Benedict cardinals? They're the ones who gave us Francis in the first place. All right, let me just remove this here. Okay, now let me give some final thoughts. So follow that guy, because that guy just tells you what the Jesuits are thinking. Whereas James Martin, one, he's only a one-trick pony. He just tries to promote sodomy as much as possible. And two, he uses celebrity language, and he's a nice guy. This guy, Thomas Rees, is this old, hateful guy who just speaks his mind. He hates the church that Christ established, and he's pretty much your standard Jesuit out there, but he is the most vocal. Zenza, very informative, Alan. Now, okay, I'm going to tell you what needs to happen with the Jesuits. They've been suppressed before. They need to be suppressed again. And I'll tell you how it needs to happen. Once our side gets in control, once we get a good pope, and there will be a good pope, once we get a good pope, the following has to happen. We need to do what Saladin did at the Battle of Hattin. Now, for those who don't know the Crusades, the Battle of Hattin was a very important battle. Saladin versus Guy of Lusignan, and Saladin wins. And now Saladin had lost most of his battles against the Crusaders prior to this. He finally wins, and it's kind of a fluke he won. You know, there were some turncoat Templars that told him when to attack. And anyway, the point is he got an unlikely win. And with this win, he took full advantage of it. He went and he took all the knights, apart from their leaders, apart from the key leaders, and he executed them that day, or took them back to Damascus, where he later executed them. He didn't take them all prisoner. So it's a Battle of Hattin moment. He chopped off all their heads. I know this is a bit gruesome, but that's what needs to happen to the Jesuits. Not chop off their heads, obviously, but we need to, but they need to be, their order needs to be extinguished. Why? Because that's a rallying point for the opponents of Jesus Christ to gather. Now, of all the Jesuits, some things will happen. One, some will just quit and become like Episcopal or something, and some will try to stay in the church. Now, you may ask, Alan, is this not just as bad? They're going to be staying in the church. Yes, it's true. It's just as bad in that way. However, they won't be together. They'll be scattered out, so they can't plot their war against the Church of Jesus Christ. And then eventually the problem will be gone. Oh, okay. All right. Now, it's a very short thing. So basically, know this, guys, what you need to do. You need to follow Father Thomas Rees, because he just speaks their mind. If you want to learn how the Jesuits think, that's the guy, because I know how they think. Not everyone knows how they think. Like that, there's people in the comments saying, "Oh, the Jesuits aren't that bad, are they?" They are. Do you honestly think what? Okay, I got time for a few questions. Let's hear what you got to say, Benedictus, whatever. I got time for questions. Throw in the questions. So basically, this is called the heretical Jesuit mind. To know what the heretical Jesuit mind is thinking, you need to follow Thomas Rees, SJ, on Twitter and read all his articles. That the Jesuits are an organized group against the Catholic Church. Well, the worst priests in the world are Jesuits today. Why is, think, if this was a traditional order, why would they not expel Father James Martin? They know what he believes. Why do you think one guy is representative of the whole? Because I've studied the whole for a long, long time. I've studied all these people. The modern Jesuits, you don't want what they're preaching. You don't want what they're preaching. They're not enforcing it. They're letting all these people preached unhinged. So the fact that Thomas Reese, he's how the Jesuits think. And he'll say if something is good or bad. He's very, and the thing is, he's not a super celebrity. He's less known. That's why I'm telling you about him, that you need to read his stuff. Like, look what he was saying about young people shouldn't be allowed to attend the Latin Mass. Now, of course, all Jesuits like this. All Jesuits like, and liberation theology comes straight from the Jesuits. Straight from the Jesuits. I've listened to their podcast on it. I tried to learn it from their perspective. It's not good, folks. Not good at all. So, of course, Jesuits back in the day, St. Ignatius, St. Robert Bellarmine, those are the good Jesuits. Those are the ones we like. But the ones we don't like are the ones today. Like I said, there's the odd exception, but I don't like some of his cosmological stuff. He's too wedded. Last I checked with Spitzer. Or am I thinking of someone else? I read a paper on... Okay, I might be getting him confused with someone else. But okay, if he's good, he's good. But I mean, overall, the Jesuits are compromised. Read America Magazine. Listen to the American Magazine podcast. Go to the America Magazine. That's the biggest Jesuit magazine in the world, or newspaper, or whatever. Go read America.com. I can't remember, but it's America Magazine. Read that magazine. Read that. That is the mind of the Jesuits, spoken somewhat softly. They try to be a bit squishy with language. That's why you got to get Thomas Reese. How to shut them down? Same way Clement XIV shut them down. You just write a papal bull and just say this order is suppressed. It's no longer... We need to shut them down, guys. This is where all the bad people are coming from. Not all the bad people. There's bad priests out there who aren't Jesuits, but if you don't read me, read America Magazine. That's not just one guy. That's their whole mind frame. And go listen to their podcast with Colleen. I can't remember her last name. It's Colleen something. And go listen to their Inside the Vatican podcast. She corresponds with the guy in Rome. When they banned the Latin Mass at the Vatican, except for one chapel, they were just ecstatic. It's like, oh, he wants to the Pope wants to show everyone that that Vatican II is here to stay. And personally, I don't care about Vatican II, but I mean, these people were ecstatic. It's not like Pope Benedict, let's value both rights. No. So, okay, are there any more questions? And by the way, the good Jesuits, they should go into separate orders. They can become priests of a diocese, join another order, or something like that. But they need to be suppressed. We need, as soon as we get our Battle of Hattin moment and take control, we need to suppress them. Because I think a lot of people underestimate how bad. Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. How so the other guy, do you mind sharing which archdiocese you're in? Oh, okay. So you have the guy who came in after Chaput. I don't know a lot about him. I know I love Chaput. Chaput was awesome. From what I understand, I went to my normal Latin Mass this Sunday and talked to my priest after Mass. He just says, we're probably going to be allowed to continue because my Latin Mass is Fraternity of St. Peter. And so his So is I'm curious. Is okay? Okay, he's a great man. That's good. That's good because I was wondering. You're going to replace Chaput with. By the way, the fact that Chaput and Gomez were never made into Cardinals when all their predecessors were says a lot. Okay, Benedict. Is that they read too much secular literature, become overeducated, and too little spiritual. And I don't know how their formation is, but I know what they're preaching, and it's not good. Liberation theology, I think you might be talking about. Now, not all Jesuits preach liberation theology, and there's people that preach liberation theology who aren't Jesuits, but the Jesuits have a huge plan in it. That's what's harming the church in Latin America now. I think it's through the worst, but it's still out there, and it's because of these Jesuits in Medellin. Because if you take a look at Vatican II, 1962 through 1965, at that place, the most Catholic region in the world was South America. At that time, it was like 98% Catholic. Now it's like 75% Catholic. But so it's still probably the most Catholic place in the world. But I should point out that if you read books about Vatican II, you never hear about the South American bishops. They played hardly any role in it. So they kind of had their own Vatican II in South America, where they just come up with their own stuff, and they started teaching liberation theology. And if you read Christus Vincit by not Schneider, Bishop Athanasius Schneider, he talks about how he was ordained in Brazil in the 1980s, and he was sent there. Their vocations were completely destroyed because of the liberation theology, completely destroyed. And so, we need to reverse this. We need to reverse this, and we've got what do you think went wrong with them? I'm not an expert on that. I'm not an expert on what went wrong. I just know they're preaching garbage now. I know Malachi Martin has a book on the Jesuits. I've not read it, but he kind of tries to spell out where they went wrong. You might want to look into that. I don't know how good it is, but I don't know where they went wrong. All I know is they're preaching absolute heresy right now. For the most part, you can find the odd one that's not bad. That's a great book. I assume you're talking about Christus Vincit by Bishop Athanasius Schneider. In fact, I have something to say about that book. I got my own copy. I read it. I loved it. I got two friends who are Latin Mass Catholics. I bought books at Christmas, and I gave one to each of them. It was good. I loved it. And I think one of them has read it, and no, it's a great book. It's the best book in the last couple years that's come out. That book gives me hope, and it gives a lot of people hope. And there's reason for hope. We need hope right now because of the Jesuits, because of our Pope. No, it's true. Pope Francis. In fact, I'm thinking of doing a whole other live stream of the next Pope. Who are the popular cardinals who are likely to be Pope? Or the candidates. Of course, we don't know for sure, and there might be more cardinals appointed in the future. But the point is, there are favorites. I mean, our Pope Francis, Cardinal Ratzinger, who became Pope Benedict, was the right-hand man of John Paul II. Cardinal Bergoglio, who became Francis, was Archbishop of Buenos Aires in Argentina. That's obviously one of the major cities in South America. So they're not going to elect some podunk person. You are so right. The Jesuits are the ones who came up with the liberation theology. When Pope Francis was elected, they had free reign of the Vatican, and they were his advisors. I was alarmed. Now, apparently a story about that. when Pope Benedict was elected Pope in 2005 or six, in five, the whole world knew who he was. And as soon as he was elected, it's like, well, this is probably just a continuation of John Paul II. And it was essentially. It was the same papacy, essentially. But Francis, no one knew about Pope Francis until, like as soon as he's elected, where they're like, who is this guy? Who is this guy? No one knew anything about him. And because they didn't know anything about him, they had some optimism about him. And they're like, wow, I was listening to Chris Ferrara and Father Gruner saying, Father Gruner, there's a name I haven't heard in a while. I mean, he's dead. That's probably why. But they're so optimistic about this. It's like, oh, yeah, no, he's going to be great. And then apparently some trads in South America contacted all these optimistic trads in America. And they're like, you have no idea how much trouble we're in. Well, we know now. 8 years later, now Summorum Pontificum has had its head chopped off. But yeah, so I'm going to kill the stream pretty soon. If you have any more questions, put them in now. But what we need to do, what the church needs, it's going to learn a lesson the easy way or the hard way. It's better to learn it the easy way. The Jesuits need to be suppressed immediately. Immediately once we get in power. I mean, if let's face it, if Pope Francis dies tomorrow, there's a conclave in August, and Cardinal Sarah is elected, he needs to suppress them within the first 6 months, if not the first 3 months. They need to go. They've gone before. Yeah, no, I made it clear that they're not the only ones responsible. That there's liberation theology outside of the Jesuits. In fact, at this point, I'd say most of the liberation theology in the church is outside of the Jesuits. And yeah, more than one group is guilty. There's a lot of problems with the Dominicans, a lot of problems with the Franciscans, but I believe they can be fixed. You can't fix the Jesuits. They need to be axed, as in suppressed. So, any more questions? I'm going to kill the stream at 40 minutes. I'm at 37:30 right now. So if you want questions, now's the time. All right. It looks like we're at the end of the... Oh, okay. Benedictus Intellectus. There's no way that's happening. It's a dream. Well, let me tell you, right now the church is in a nightmare, not a dream. And this nightmare will continue until they are suppressed. No, we can't take that risk. We can't take that risk. They have to be suppressed. What's up, Elijah? I'm just about to end here, but if you want, you can go back and check this out. But yeah, a new generation, we can't rely on that. And keep in mind, where do they go? They go to the Jesuit seminaries where they have people like Thomas Rees teaching them. The Jesuits were some of the best only missionaries on. Oh yeah. No, that's true. The old Jesuits. Yeah, if you go back to like Father de Smet, amazing Jesuit from either Holland or Belgium. I'm not sure. In the past, they were amazing. I'm a huge fan of St. Robert Bell, Ignatius, the old true Jesuits when it was the Society of Jesus. Now it's a Society of Judas. It's a Society of Judas now. That's why they need to be suppressed. Yeah, no, that's true. They were amazing missionaries back in the day, but they're not spreading the Christian faith anymore. They're not spreading love for our Lord Jesus Christ. They're spreading liberation theology. They're spreading sodomy. They're spreading the suppression of the Tridentine Mass, that's what they're spreading now. Yeah, those ones that went to the Native Americans in the 1800s and prior, God bless them. I love those people. They're in heaven with Jesus now. God bless them. But the current Jesuits, they're going to meet their Lord when they die, because their Lord is Satan. These modern Jesuits, again, there's probably a couple good ones out there. I just hope they can do what they can. All right. It's not just Jesuits, whole society. Yeah, that's true. The public-facing figures at the press, like much as Martin and Reese, do not stand for the vast majority of Jesuits. No, that's not true. The vast majority of Jesuits are compromised. Take a look at that school in Indiana, that Jesuit school. Remember, the diocese made them fire a teacher who was in a homo relationship. And they're like stood up and they're taking. This is just some random Jesuit school. No, the whole order's gone. The whole order's gone. Again, there may be a couple good ones here or there, and I wish the best for them. I wish the best for them, but they need to go. We need to have the Battle of Hattin. The Battle of Hattin. Remember, if you guys forgetting the message, think Battle of Hattin, Jesuits. They need to be suppressed. Once we get the papacy back, Catholic believing Catholics get the papacy back, we need to do our Battle of Hattin moment. This problem be solved. Suppress them. What Clement XIV did, except they shouldn't have suppressed them in Clement XIV. It's kind of interesting why they ended up doing it. That's for another time. But right now, all we need to know is they need to be suppressed. All right, guys, like, share, and subscribe. I'm trying to do at least 2 live streams a week. So this is not, and follow Father Thomas Reese on Twitter and read his articles. That's the person to learn about the Jesuits from, because he just speaks the mind. He's this old hateful man, an enemy of Christ, and he makes no secret about it. So follow him. That's the guy, and he doesn't use Orwell's double talk either. All right, I am gonna kill the stream. God bless you all, and I'll see you in a day or two. Bye.